Welcome back, everyone. There are more than 270 million guns in the hands of civilians in the United States, guns that are blamed for about 30,000 deaths a year. That has led to calls for tough laws from many activists, but others say the right to bear arms is inherently American. Joining us now to discuss the politics of this issue, Michael Shank from the nonprofit research organization Institute for Economics and Peace, which compiles the annual Global Peace Index. Also with us, John Velleco, Director of Federal Affairs of the group Gun Owners of America. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
John, if I can start with you. Something like this, a horrific incident that unfolds very publicly. You see somebody who may or may not have a medical disorder, psychiatric disorder, do something like this. What does it do for your effort to promote guns legally among people in the U.S.?
Well, first of all, it was a horrific tragedy, and we can all agree on that the loss of 12 lives and 59 injured was a tragedy. But there was another tragedy, too, there in Colorado, and that was that there was no one armed who could defend themselves and their loved ones and even innocent bystanders. So we would say that this unfortunate type of situation shows the futility of so-called gun-free zones.
Just so I understand this, you think if somebody would have had a handgun in the theater, this person could have stopped somebody that heavily armed with that kind of body armor? To me, it seems like you're just opening up for more tragedy.
No, could have. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know all of the circumstances, but someone with a handgun could have. And it doesn't matter how much firepower the other person has, because you need a 45 caliber handgun and a shot well placed, and you could stop an attacker like that, even if he has a 100-round drum, which I would rather get in a fight. I don't want to get in any gunfight, but would rather with something like a 100-round drum, because those tend to bind up more regularly than a smaller magazine.
Michael, let's kind of focus on this. Around the country, around the world, I can hear some people saying, "You've got to be kidding me," and some people saying, "He's exactly right." Your thoughts?
Well, Frank Luntz, Republican pollster, whom you know, I'm sure, just did a poll recently among gun owners, some of them from the NRA, National Rifle Association, strong support for background checks, which we have in the United States. However, they're not as strict as they should be. One component of that is around mental illness. So states voluntarily report their data to a national list. It's the Instant Criminal Background Check System. Some states don't, however. Virginia didn't, pre-Virginia Tech, which is why Cho was able to get a gun and then shoot 30-plus people.
You're talking about the individual Virginia Tech who shot and killed more than 30.
So had Virginia reported their mental health data to that national list, NICS, which I mentioned, Cho wouldn't have been able to buy a gun. So in terms of the world looking at us and saying, do we have the measures in place to be safe about guns? We don't. We also don't have to register guns. We don't have to have permits or licenses for guns. So we actually aren't able to track interstate, within the U.S., gun movement. We do better tracking bananas in cars than we do guns.
Should they have that kind of tracking?
Well, for one thing, background checks in this instance would not have helped, because James Holmes did not have, as far as we know, does not have a criminal background, so he could have undergone all of the background checks in the world, in the country here, and still have been able to buy the gun. So to stop people like that, you have a choice to make. Do you stop everyone? Because if he didn't have a record, then that's one option, is just stop everyone from buying a gun.
There are calls for that out there right now. What do you think about that?
Sure. Well, then I think the country would be a much less safe place, because then, as the cliche goes, only criminals would have guns if guns were outlawed. But there's another issue that Michael brought up, and I think it's an important one, and it deals with mental health. And in the United States, and I don't want to get off topic here, but we're undergoing a massive drugging of the youth by the psychiatry industry, and we have millions upon millions. Some say, some estimates I've read, up to a third of youths are on psychiatric drugs, and it's
for depression, something of that nature.
Sure, and one of the, I don't know if it's come out in this case yet, but one of the common factors in school shootings, from Columbine, which happened 15 minutes down the road from the movie theater, to Jonesboro, Arkansas, to Virginia Tech, was the presence of psychiatric drugs or withdrawal from psychiatric drugs. And that's going to lead probably to more shootings in the future.